Right now, as you watch this video, something is changing beneath the streets of Naples, Italy. Deep underground, 6 kilometers down, magma is pushing gas upward through cracks in the Earth's crust. And we know this because of what's happening on the surface, something so subtle, most people walk right past it, but scientists, they can't stop watching. These aren't ordinary yellow sulfur deposits anymore. They've turned orange, then red. And when sulfur changes color like this, it's not reacting to air or water. It's reacting to something coming from deep inside the Earth. 173 degrees Celsius. That's the temperature reading scientists recorded at Bocca Grande Fumarole in Sulfur crater this month. For context, water boils at 100 degrees. This is 73 degrees hotter. Hot enough to melt your skin in seconds. Hot enough that scientists approaching these vents wear heat-resistant suits and respirators, not just for the temperature, but for what's in the gas itself. Hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, and now, traces of arsenic and mercury compounds. Gases that only appear when magma deep below is actively degassing. But here's what makes this truly alarming. The temperature isn't dropping. It's rising. And it's been rising consistently since 2018. Maria Esposito lives in Pozzuoli, the small port city sitting directly above what geologists call the Campi Flegrei caldera, a supervolcano that last erupted in 1538. 3 weeks ago, she was drinking coffee in her kitchen when her table began to vibrate. Not violently, just a low, rhythmic tremor that lasted about 8 seconds. Her teenage son looked up from his phone and asked, "Did you feel that?" She nodded. It was the 4th earthquake that week, the 15th that month. The ground beneath Pozzuoli has risen 21.5 centimeters in 2025 alone. That's over 8 inches in 1 year. Since the current crisis began, the total uplift has reached 148 centimeters. Nearly 5 feet. Ancient Roman columns that once stood at sea level now tower above the harbor. Boats that were moored in water are now resting on dry land, surrounded by grass. The sea didn't recede. The land rose. Inside the Vesuvius Observatory, scientists monitor Campi Flegrei 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 4 automatic stations scattered across Sulfur and Pozzuoli measure ground temperature, gas emissions, and seismic tremors in real time. 5 thermal cameras, part of a network called Turnet, record infrared footage exclusively at night to avoid solar interference. Every anomaly, every temperature spike, every gas fluctuation is logged, analyzed, and compared to historical data. And what they're seeing now is making them nervous. Because the orange-red sulfur? That's realgar, and cinnabar, and orpiment, minerals that form only when gases rich in arsenic, mercury, and sulfur rise from deep magmatic sources. These aren't surface reactions. There are 3 things you need to understand about what's happening at Campi Flegrei right now. First, this is not a drill. This is not speculation. This is measurable, observable, scientifically documented volcanic unrest. Speculation. This is measurable, observable, scientifically documented volcanic unrest. Second, this affects 500,000 people living within the immediate risk zone, including parts of Naples, one of the most densely populated cities in Europe. So let's talk about what scientists are seeing. Let's talk about why sulfur turning red is a warning sign geologists have been watching for. And let's talk about what this could mean not in some distant future, but in the days and weeks ahead. In December 2024, scientists recorded 34 earthquakes in 1 week at Campi Flegrei, normal for this volcano. Expected, even. But then, in the second week of December 2025, that number jumped to 76 earthquakes. That's not a gradual increase, that's a doubling. In 1 week. Here's what the data tells us. The RIET monitoring station, positioned directly above the deformation center, has been measuring ground movement with millimeter precision. In October, November, and December of 2025, The uplift rate averaged 25 millimeters per month. That's almost 1 inch every 30 days. But it's not happening evenly. Some days, the ground rises 3 millimeters. Other days, barely 1. And on certain days, specifically 3 to 6 days before major earthquakes, the temperature at Fumaroles spikes by 5 to 7 degrees Celsius. This pattern has repeated itself twice now with stunning accuracy. In September 2023, fumarole temperatures jumped over 7 degrees. 3 days later, a magnitude 4.2 earthquake struck. In May 2024, temperatures increased by 5 degrees. 3 days later, magnitude 4.4. Scientists are now using these temperature spikes as an early warning system, not for eruptions. For earthquakes. Beneath Sulfur Tower, between 3 and 5 kilometers deep, there's a fractured zone. Think of it as a layer of cracked rock, filled with superheated water and gas under immense pressure. This hydrothermal reservoir is heated by magma sitting below it, somewhere between 6 and 9 kilometers down. The magma itself isn't moving up, not yet, but it's degassing, releasing carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and trace metals into the reservoir above. Every earthquake you feel in Pozzuoli, that's not magma breaking through, that's rock cracking under hydraulic pressure. That's the sound of the Earth's crust adjusting to forces it can't contain anymore. And the orange-red sulfur? That's the proof. Relgar and cinnabar don't form from surface reactions. They require arsenic and mercury, elements concentrated in deep magmatic fluids. When you see these minerals crystallizing around fumarole vents, you're looking at a direct chemical link between the surface and the magma chamber below. It's like a thermometer. Walk down any street in Pozzuoli today, and you'll see cracks. Not small hairline fractures, cracks wide enough to fit your fingers into. Sidewalks splitting apart. Building facades showing fresh stress lines that weren't there 6 months ago. The Rione Terra, the ancient historic quarter, has been closed multiple times for structural inspections. These aren't old buildings crumbling from age. These are modern structures responding to forces they were never designed to handle. At the port, fishermen can't dock their boats anymore. The harbor floor has risen so much that what used to be deep water is now too shallow for vessels. Some boats sit completely grounded, resting on land that was underwater 3 years ago. Maria, the woman I mentioned earlier, she told local reporters last month that her family practices evacuation routes now, not because officials told them to, because they're terrified. Her son timed it. It takes 11 minutes to drive from their apartment to the safe zone outside the caldera. But that's at 3 a.m. with no traffic. During the day, 25 minutes, maybe more. And here's the question that keeps residents awake at night, and I want you to answer this in the comments. If scientists detect a major escalation, a rapid temperature spike, a sudden swarm of strong earthquakes, and they issue an evacuation order for 500,000 people, how do you move that many humans out of a densely packed city in time? How many hours do you think it would take? Write your guess below, because the answer might shock you. Scenario 1. Continued slow uplift. This is the most likely outcome, about 70% probability. The ground keeps rising at 25 millimeters per month. Earthquakes continue in swarms. Fumarole temperatures fluctuate between 165 and 175 degrees Celsius. Life goes on, but with constant low-level anxiety. Buildings crack slowly. The harbor becomes unusable. And every resident lives with a question they can't answer. When does this stop? Scenario 2. Hydrothermal explosion. This has a 25% probability. The pressurized water reservoir at 3 to 5 kilometers depth suddenly fractures the caprock above it. Superheated steam explodes through the surface in a phreatic eruption. No magma, just steam and rock fragments. It happened here in 1198 AD at Sulfur Tower. It could happen again. Localized devastation. dozens, maybe hundreds of casualties. But not a full magmatic eruption. Scenario 3. Magmatic eruption. This is the nightmare scenario, and scientists estimate it at roughly 5% probability right now. Magma reaches the surface. Pyroclastic flows race down the caldera at 100 km per hour. Everything within 5 kilometers is incinerated. 500,000 people are in immediate danger. European airspace shuts down, and the global climate cools by half a degree for 2 years. Now here's what you need to watch for. Scientists are monitoring 4 critical thresholds. 1. If fumarole temperatures suddenly jump above 180 degrees Celsius and stay there for more than 48 hours. 2. If the uplift rate exceeds 35 mm per month for 2 consecutive months. 3. If a seismic swarm produces more than 150 earthquakes in a single week, with at least 5 above magnitude 3. 4. If gas composition shifts dramatically, specifically, if the ratio of carbon dioxide to sulfur dioxide inverts, indicating fresh magma degassing. So here's my question to you, and I need you to comment below because this matters. Do you think the Italian government is prepared to evacuate 500,000 people on short notice? Do you think the infrastructure exists? Do you think the warning systems are reliable? Tell me in the comments what you think the biggest obstacle would be, because understanding this could save lives. And if you want to stay updated on Campi Flegrei, if you want real-time analysis every time something changes, every time scientists release new data, then you need to subscribe to this channel right now, because what's happening at 173 degrees Celsius today could be 180 degrees next week.